Welcome to the painting part of your grid drawing, and you should have chosen a color scheme for your artwork. Primary, secondary, those each would have been a good choice. And also you could do complementary, which are color opposites. Split complementary is going to be just a little bit different, where it's color opposites but with a little split on one side. So that gives you 3 different colors. Monochromatic would be varying shades of one color. So if we take a look at my examples, this one is complementary. I've got the blue with the orange in the background, and then the other one is monochromatic. So that uses 4 colors directly next to each other on the color wheel. Make sure that you write down what you want on your paper. You cannot change it once you have your decision made. When I prep, we're actually going to use old paper for our painter's palettes, just save space. And when I put paint down, I will be using the OK method. So if you are pouring paint with just that amount of space, when you make the OK symbol, that little circle, that should be all the paint that you need. You don't need a ton more of that, just that OK amount is all right. So for the most part, I'm going to try to have that poured before you guys come in, but unfortunately that doesn't always happen. One of the nice things about using an old piece of paper is that once we are done, cleanup super easy. You just fold that sucker up and throw it away. Makes things a little bit easier. We are going to give you some larger brushes since you have a larger piece of paper. Make sure that those go in the center sink when you are done with them. Just make sure they go in the bucket so that way they can soak for a little while before I clean them. Now I am going to concentrate on the red, orange, and yellow orange aspect of this project because I chose split complementary. So even though blue is in my split complementary, I'm only going to stick with a couple of those colors today. And I have solid yellow and solid orange. Obviously, I need yellow orange. So I'm going to go ahead and mix those together. And if I need a little more yellow to make it a little more yellowish, I can do that. If I feel like I need it to be considerably brighter, I can actually add white as well to my yellow orange. So you want to try and stick as close to that yellow orange as, or to your color as you can. So I'm sticking with this yellow orange at the current point in time. And as I take a look at my image, that I can see there's a little bit of a highlight there that's way lighter than the rest of it. In fact, it's almost white. So I'm going to nab just white and blend that in with the yellow orange that is already on my brush in order to give it a little bit of a brighter area. Keep in mind that as you work, you might want to change brushes. So sometimes you might find an area is too detailed and you do have to switch brushes as you work. Now, word to the wise, be very sparing with the black because it will turn things very dark very quickly. So I'm just taking just a teeny tiny bit of black and then I'm brushing that off. You can also use water to completely clean your brush. I'm just using a small amount of black and then I'm grabbing that yellow orange again and I'm just going to blend that into that shadow side of my helmet. So, and I'm not going to do that on the other side because that has a highlight. So it takes a little bit of time to get in here and get all those colors. Anytime that you see a shadow or a darker area, remember to add a little bit of black. Anywhere where you see a little bit of a highlight, add a little bit of white. Keep in mind that all of this is sped up for you, obviously, so I don't expect anybody to work this fast. I actually took probably a good hour or so in painting this. When you do your work, obviously take your time If you need help figuring out where the shadows are, you can go ahead and ask me. Something else that you can do is if you kind of get a little bit confused as to where things are at and you need to use the solid white or the solid black, you can. So like that's what I did with the string right there, or the part that goes to the mouthpiece. And I'll also be doing the same thing inside the helmet as well. So I have some areas that have just mild amounts of shadow to it, and that has to be with the face guard. Something else I want you to notice is the fact that I have not used any water to clean my brush. I have stuck with yellow orange the whole time, and I have simply flip-flopped back and forth between having white mixed in there or having black mixed in there. So I've stuck with that the whole time. And every now and then I will need to clean my brush with water, especially when using black. Of course, you can use the paper as well to get rid of some of those colors. Sparing with the black. So some of these little strange pieces, like the chin guard, I'm actually going to leave out of it just because I think it makes the drawing more confusing. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the inside of the helmet just solid black. Now I'm getting ready for a brush change here, so I'm going to switch from a small brush to a large flathead. And that's going to allow me a little more control, and it's really nice to get straight edges with as well, or follow curved edges. And again, I'm just doing sparing small amounts of black to get the shadow on the bottom side. And then when I feel like I need the highlight up top, I'll add a little bit of white and go ahead and blend that in there. I want to try and follow the curve of that helmet as best as I can. I'm actually painting in a curve type of direction, so that way it helps the painting. And then I'm going to need to switch brushes again back to the small one, and while I still have that red-orange on my palette, I'm going to go ahead and fill in those smaller spaces. So yeah, so there's going to be my red-orange, and then that is the split complementary part of the lesson. So where I've got the yellow-orange and the red-orange, and then I might use a little bit of white for tint or a little bit of black for shade. Now that last bit will probably happen on the next day, is creating your background. And if you wanted to add, again, a little bit of white for tint or a little bit of black for shade, you could. Or you could just go ahead and do solid color. That will work as well, because you want your main focus to be on your subject matter. You want it to be on the curves of whatever it is that you are painting. So if you ended up doing one solid color for your background, that's totally fine with no mixing. However, I do expect some mixing in your subject matter. So for example, even if you picked a primary color set, I still want to see on that subject matter, I do want to see some shadows with the dark tints using the black and some highlights using the white. So make sure that you're taking your time, doing a nice job. The background, however, is not as important. So if you end up just doing one solid color in the background, that's no big deal.